It's Maximum News. Okay, we usually jump into the gaming news here, but obviously we got to address the fact that we haven't been here for the last couple of weeks. Sorry, we've had a whole bunch of stuff going on in both of our lives. Some things having to do with sickness. At the moment, Syb, my co-host, as I'm sure all of you are aware, is not doing particularly well at the moment. I wasn't doing particularly well, but thankfully I'm doing quite well now. And, we still have a whole bunch of other stuff that we're not really privy to talk about going on in our lives. But it's okay. Everything's stable now. We are back. We're back to a weekly schedule, and we're here to talk about gaming news. The only problem is there's not all that much going on, but there's some interesting stuff going on. I guess it sort of works to our benefit side for that. For the past couple of weeks, there hasn't been that much gaming news. But we do have some to talk about today, so it's going to be fun. Let's get right into it. First of all, Syb, I think it's safe to say, even though I don't personally use Xbox Game Pass, that at the moment it's a pretty good deal for people that, are looking for what it offers. Now, the reason why I want to talk about it, even though I don't personally use it and I'm not particularly interested in Xbox Game Pass, there was a recent change that was made to it that I think is worthy of talking about because it sparks an interesting discussion about the industry as a whole. So some changes went into effect a week ago for some people that are using it. And it's only changes that are affecting people that sign up that are new, although the changes will go into effect for existing members starting September 12th. Now, what are these changes? Well, on the surface, it looks just like a price hike, but there's a little bit more to it. So on average, there's about an 18 to 22% price hike for Game Pass Ultimate, which is the highest tier that is available for people that sign up for Xbox Game Pass. So at the moment, when it was just $17 for the US, it's now $20. For Canada, it was $18.99. Now I think it's $22.99 for Canada. And then they also put up a list Microsoft did on the Xbox website showing, like, depending on what region you are in, you can see what the increase is for you. Now, on top of this, they also added a variety of different tiers. So as I just mentioned, there's the Ultimate, which is the highest. And what comes with that is all the stuff that Xbox Game Pass is famous for. That's the day one game. So new games, day one, are available on Xbox Game Pass. There's obviously the catalog of hundreds of pre-existing games that are there. Various perks and discounts on games that are in the Game Pass library. And there's also the EA Play and Riot Games benefits. I have no idea what that entails because I think EA and Riot Games are cancer. Sorry to be not discreet about it. Xbox Cloud Gaming, and then, of course, online multiplayer. But then below that, there are two new and cheaper tiers. The one just below Ultimate is Standard, which is $15 American. So that's just that's $5 less than the Ultimate. You have the catalog of hundreds of games, and you have some member details and discounts. Maybe not in all the Game Pass games, but some. But you don't get the day one games, any of them, and you don't get the EA Play or Riot Games benefits and no cloud gaming. And then for the core Game Pass, which is just $10 a month, or if you want to do a yearly subscription, that's $75 a year. If I were to summarize this as somebody who used to subscribe to Xbox Live, it's basically just Xbox Live and everything but name. It has the only thing that's sort of different, I guess you can argue, is that there is a limited catalog of Game Pass games, only like around 25, whereas the catalog for the Standard and Ultimate tiers are over like hundreds and hundreds. But yeah, aside from that, the core is just that and some perks and discounts here or there, and then online multiplayer. Now, why are they doing this, Syb? I would say that with everything that has come out about this, it seems to me that, like with anything that a company does, they're doing it for financial viability. Right. Yeah. No, but I think it's safe to say that it feels somewhat like a disguised price hike instead of just a blatant price hike. They're doing it for the investors who want to see continuous growth, which is a problem that you and I have discussed a lot on this channel. And
it's not that it's not strictly not impossible But it is just highly stupid for anybody to think that that's a thing that can happen. Like,
Right.
it's like you roll your eyes and you go, no, it can't go on forever. And then some people are like, well, it should. But it's
Yeah.
like, it can in the right scenarios, but it's not something that you expect. For example, you can probably sell eggs, like chicken eggs,
Mm.
basically forever
You could.
because
Right.
there's always a market for it, right?
Yeah.
And there's an ever increasing market for it, and there has been for hundreds of years. But it is just one of those things where it's like some people they make this assumption that, oh no, this will work. This will be what, so and so, so and so, and so and so needs. It's very stupid to think that way for the long term, but
Yeah.
it's not impossible, but there is a lot of greed out there, that's for sure.
Right. But, it probably could go on substantially longer if they just didn't embrace that mindset where the only thing that they really care about is just trying
Mm-hmm.
to please the investors. And maybe if they just
Yeah.
took a hit for 2 or 3 quarters, and then, added more value to the pre-existing Game Pass by making more games available and all that. But yeah, it's, I suppose the thing that's most concerning though is that, with the Activision Blizzard acquisition, I seem to recall that Microsoft told the UK's CMA, which is their equivalent of the FTC, and they also told the FTC this as well, the people that regulate business and commerce in the UK and the US. Microsoft told them that there wouldn't be any price hikes to Game Pass after the Activision Blizzard acquisition. I wonder what changed. Yeah, it's like, oh wait, well, the investors are not happy about the fact that Game Pass subscription is basically stagnated. So what we're going to do just to make sure that can continue to go up is that we make a disguised price hike, and maybe we close Tango GameWorks and Arcane Austin and a whole bunch of other great talent that we have just to please the investors in the short term. It's worrying, Sybe, and it's immoral. I do wonder how much of a hit this will take, though, because despite the loss of the immense talent that was at Tango GameWorks and Arcane Austin, they do still have all these amazing IPs under their belt now because of the Activision Blizzard acquisition. So, with all that said, Sybe, how much do you think that this price hike is going to have an impact? How long, what are your general thoughts on it?
If somebody was gonna ask me like how do I get into gaming, I'd probably tell them like Xbox Game Pass. Like, in all honesty,
It still is the best deal there is.
No, Steam is just because of the vast amounts of like really good games, the sales that you can get if you're really patient, if you know what to look for. But that's not what I would tell. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree, but
yeah,
that comes down to whether or not you have a PC, and
yes, and you have to know, like, you literally have to know the culture. You can go onto Steam and accidentally spend $10,000. I would not throw most people into that scenario. It's just not something that I would do. But it's not like it's the it's not like it's the worst of the worst. Like, the worst of the worst is like phone games, followed by, a couple other platforms, and I'm still not a big fan of the Epic formula, and,
Sure.
and they've kind of recognized that they've caused some serious damage to some companies and some studios out there with the way that they've done things. So yeah, but it still is a really good deal. Like, there's nowhere else aside from like a handful of MMOs that you would have to play that 100% of the time, all the time, period.
Yeah.
And that's obviously, that's kind of like, that's really, really bold for some for some people. They don't want to do that.
Yeah, it works for some people. Sometimes it doesn't work for other people. I mean,
but you can't even play World of Warcraft Classic, a 20-year-old game. You can't even play that on $75 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is that I know that obviously some people are really upset about this. Some people are annoyed. And there are some people. There's a lot of doomers running around screaming about the sky is falling right now. I hate to say it, most of them are PlayStation fans. And look, I'm not on one side or the other side of the console war.
No. Generally
Generally speaking, I hate the console war. I think it's stupid. It's not that I hate the companies. It's that I don't think the gamers have been. The gamers have not been respected because of this whole war on the between these big corporations.
It's people, it's dumb people showing fealty to trillion-dollar corporations. It's obviously stupid,
right? And it's this idea and this feeling that some people are rushing into that, and that's where I think a lot of the negativity on this is coming from. Is people who, because there's some people who they take it seriously. I wanted to kind of like explore the console wars for like a video concept, and like I created some fake accounts and I joined some groups and I got into a meeting and I heard this, like, these are regular Joes. Most of them don't have a job, and most of them are not doing anything substantial with any form of like skill level, except for planning to take down the competitor in the console war. Having full-on meetings about how they're going to, they're going to downvote this latest game, and they're going to complain to all these studios about why they're putting games on this platform or that platform, and don't they realize that they're they're feeding the devil. And it's like, oh wow, okay, so this is like full on like hyper stupidity, right?
it's an arms race to utter stupidity. Yes,
it really is. And again, it's just like, and I let it go because I'm like, this is kind of stupid, and there's nothing here that's actually like genuinely like needs to be ousted, because they're not even doing a good job of it.
Yeah,
they're not doing, like, they're not capable people running an anti propaganda mission or something like that. It's just a bunch of idiots who think that they talk a big thing. And again, I'm not saying which side of this it was. Maybe it was multiple, maybe it was singular, maybe it was one-sided. The point is that the console war thing is dumb, and it doesn't really help the gamers,
right,
as much as the exclusivity that we find in games on consoles that don't require specialist controls is also really dumb and hurts players, hurts the actual consumers that play video games, because you can't play certain video games because you don't have the cool fancy thing toaster oven that's the exact same toaster oven as all of the other toaster ovens, and the only one who has any form of like difference is something that actually has unique hardware, which is becoming increasingly not a thing these days. Like, I mean, it used to be that at least PCs had like really nice joysticks, and now they don't even have that. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
So
you don't think that Steam controller is good? No, it's not. It's not that good. It's fine.
It's okay. Like that kind of tech. It is like, it's there, but it's not being like progressed the way that it should.
Sure.
I remember when there was this custom keyboard that came out for a Japanese mecha game, and it had like, what was it, like 250 some odd buttons. It was basically a wraparound thing. It had a dedicated eject button, and for the hard mode, if you didn't press that eject button before your thing died, it deleted your account.
Yeah.
This was 22 years ago? technology has not moved forward at all. I find it so weird that these companies keep coming out with these like, look at our fancy new keyboards, and it's like, dude, that is the exact same QWERTY keyboard as every other keyboard manufacturer. The only thing that you've done slightly differently is the way that the keys light up on the light pad. Like,
Right.
where's the Merc Stealth series, custom input control side panel?
Right.
Where's that stuff? And
yeah.
There's
I understand what you're saying. The problem is there's not enough examples where the hardware and the software and the gaming market are innovative at the same time, and also being kept cheap for people to want to engage with it. The only two examples of people that are sort of doing that at the moment that I think are somewhat successful are Nintendo and Valve. Because with Valve, you had like the VR stuff, look how successful Half-Life Alyx was and trying to push that. And with Nintendo, you always have their attempts at innovation. You had the Wii, you had the Wii U, you had the Switch, and just trying to make games that sort of have those gimmicks, and I say gimmick in the most positive sense of the word to them. But yeah, every other example is just people trying to create hardware and software that is too niche and too expensive. That's why VR, despite it being pushed for like the last 10 years, has yet to really take off. It's just too expensive, and there's not enough games that are being developed for it that are cool enough. And that's why the only sort of bump that there was with Half-Life Alyx, because it's Valve and it's Half-Life. Yeah. If you want VR to take off, make Half-Life 3 and make it a VR title, and then you're good. That will revolutionize the market. Yeah, so at the moment, it's something to keep an eye on with the whole Xbox Game Pass situation. It's still one of the best deals that is available, but it could be a sign of bad things to come. But who knows when those will take effect? Maybe not for another few years, but yeah, it's interesting, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. All right. Going from one controversial thing into God, I've tried to stay away from this as much as I can because it's just so much stupidity being spouted by both sides. But anyway, I guess we'll talk about it. So there's a game coming out called Assassin's Creed Shadows that people are upset about because of the character in the game being black, right? Based on supposedly a historical character named Yasuke, and people are upset because they think it's somewhat disrespectful to not have people who are ethnically from Japan be main characters in the Assassin's Creed games, right? Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's the crux of some disagreement on it. I won't say 100% that that's all of it, because it's really not.
All right.
The complaints with it are a lot more than just that, and it is not it's not exclusive to the kind of like frustration that people have had with this company in the past. There's lots of like issues to kind of like point at, like this new Star Wars Ubisoft game coming out is a lot smaller than what they initially led a bunch of people to thinking that it was. And that has some people annoyed and upset, and justifiable, obviously, because
it's Ubisoft.
It's Ubisoft. And again, I have significant complaints when it comes to Ubisoft titles, because they have had a lot of stupidity when it comes to certain things. My biggest gripe with this is actually something that almost nobody is talking about at all, and that is I was about to like go full bore into this without using code words. Without highlighting, going to an author who has highlighted and favorited the abusive relationships between older individuals and younger individuals, if you know what I mean. And I find that, as a survivor, absolutely repugnant and disgusting. And I think that Ubisoft is a company that should burn because of just that, not because of any of the other issues. The black character in the story, it's the people of Japan tend to like the character. He's showed up in other media here, there, and in other ways and other inspirations, and that's totally fine. And I think that's a wonderful thing.
Sure.
But turns out that somebody did a bit of a boo-boo, and not the book thing with the aggressive
Right.
the
woman,
the woman who wrote about the thing that I despise and disdain. Turns out that dude wrote a book about this character.
Yep.
Different guy, different book, everything completely different. And he wrote about this character, and he quoted a bunch of Wikipedia entries stating that, this is his life, and here's all this historical information for it. But then it turns out, and I won't say 100%, but it looks very much like he generated those entries in Wikipedia on another account and then quoted them in his book. And if you don't know what this is, if you did this in your doctoral thesis, in your graduating thesis for university, or in an attempt to get I'm really under the weather. What is that thing that professors tenure?
Yeah.
You have to write a prominent thesis on a subject that has to do with your field in order to get tenure in most places. If you get caught doing this, you get all that stuff stripped from you, including your degree. So it is very serious, because it's a form of I guess fraud, really, when it boils down to it. Is you're claiming one thing and creating another thing. Now, if you're doing that as an angsty teenager about who did the coolest sideways hula hoop jump,
Mm-hmm.
It's not really that big of a deal. If you're doing it to troll some public figure because you find it funny, again, you're an angsty teenager, it's like, whatever, learn to grow up. It's not that big of an issue. But when you're doing it to make a living off of it in a professional capacity, that's where you get into some trouble. So looks like this guy has burned all of his social media and has looks like he's literally dipped out in every way and form possible.
So you're telling me I was already offended when I heard that this guy cited Wikipedia as a part of a major research document into a historical figure. But you're telling me that he generated the sources himself to be cited on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And
posing
then he
as somebody else.
That's what?
It's really messed up.
Oh man.
There was a very good video that really went into depths on this. And again, I'm not saying this is 100%.
Yeah.
I haven't checked
Allegedly,
this. We haven't gone through this, but this is the problem. Now the problem, and again, if some guy was wanting to talk about a historical figure and he kind of made up some extra details, thinking, well, it probably happened to somebody out there, in history, right? But that's not what happened. What happened is that he got so carried away with trying to make the character cool and impressive and, this big, keystone personality, that he ended up basically calling all of Japanese history, essentially, not all of it, but this big monumental moment, ended up just insinuated essentially that all of the Japanese people are extremely racist.
Okay. That now it makes sense.
He didn't do it intentionally in that direct way, but it was the way that he had phrased and created the story, and then the times, the facts that line up with the times, and that's kind of more or less what he ended up doing. And yeah, and again, when you play with history, when you create sources and when you create new things, you're not creating something that's uniquely independent of history. If I created a story about a bridge that was built from, one country to another, and I just put it into history, even though it wasn't there, that's going to have knock-on effects for a bunch of stuff if it's considered fact.
Yep.
And that creates that can potentially create villains and victims out of history based off of something that didn't happen, and so there weren't really those victims and villains. And that's the thing that you have to be very, 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 very careful of when you're just creating or confirming history that you don't actually know is true. And I think we could point to that, and to a whole bunch of factors, in kind of like the pulp culture, kind of like history extravaganza that's been happening with a whole bunch of different historical stuff, like the cities in South America. That was a huge story, and is it's kind of really growing in popularity right now. It's like there are massive cities in South America that vanished, from history, and we don't even have the beginning concept of how big those cities were, and we're just now discovering them. But so many textbooks out there say, nah, that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Because one guy went there, saw the cities, 200 years later, people came back, there were no cities, there was just jungle, because the jungle grew up after everybody else died off.
Yeah. This is what happens when people in these positions of authority don't do their research, and people just take what they say for granted. And often, it happens. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So in attempting to create a feel-good story about a character, you inadvertently end up calling an entire group of people racist. And that's 10 years ago, I would have been less like irritable with that kind of stuff. But nowadays it's like, come on, this is a serious problem. We're hearing this every other week. How X, Y, and Z is racist. It's like, it's to the point now where you don't even really like factor it in. You just kind of shrug your shoulders and go, oh, again, I wonder if this is true.
Yeah. Which isn't good, because racism is a terrible, horrible thing. But people toss the accusation around like it's, I don't know, they're handing out hotcakes. Yeah, and it's too bad, because from what I understand, everything that I've heard about the character of Yasuke, there's enough of a myth that has been built up around him that people will be like, I want to know what is true and what's fiction, and why these sorts of amazing myths, or whatever the case may be, has sprung up around this character. I want to investigate it. So even if you told the truth about what information is available about Yasuke, people would still want to read it, and people would still be fascinated, and people would still want to engage. But I guess maybe there was, I don't know, it's the information that's available to us about this guy. Does it suggest that maybe there was a political element to him trying to fabricate this, or was it purely just out of self-interest for trying to advance his career? Or like, do you know?
I suspect that it was out of self-interest. Because that's typically how this stuff happens, and the reasons why for it, or somebody thinking that they're going to tell a good yarn, and I like, not all history is true. I'm going to spoil something for you that's going to make you really sad.
Mm-hmm.
Jason and the Argonauts did not fight a giant cyclops.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I hate to tell it to you. Basically, they got to an island. They had never seen elephants, and nobody in Greece at the time had ever seen elephants before. They found the skull of an elephant, and when when an elephant dies and its head, its skull, loses all the flesh on it, it looks very much like a giant's head with one big hole in the middle. And so they looked at this, they picked it up, and they said, Cyclops, hey, let's tell everybody we killed it, because we have literally a skull. And then they took the skull back, and they're like, look, we killed the Cyclops.
Wait, so there's no such thing as Cyclops?
Yeah, I know. It's disappointing. And turns out Jason the Argonauts
Dude, stop. No, stop. No, you can't just drop that truth bomb on me right in the middle of recording, okay? Next thing you're going to tell me that Santa Claus isn't real.
Oh no, he is. I spend every like other winter up with him.
Okay.
But I
Well,
mean,
okay. At
it's just
least I think at least that assuages my heart for now.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
finish the recording and let's continue. All right, go on.
So yeah, so it's just like don't put your thumb on the scale of history. It's never a good thing when you try and tweak things to make your current time look better. It's a form of censorship, and when we look to Japan, what do we know? Censorship doesn't work.
Hmm.
Censorship, when you're censoring art for the sake of trying to control um, public perception, it doesn't work. It never works.
Hmm.
It doesn't ever work in the way that you think it's going to work. And what ends up happening is you end up scarring your if you have the power to actually do so, you end up scarring and changing the history. And you look at, well, I mean, every single martyr that's ever lived. You look at characters like Joan of Arc. You look at characters and things and stuff like the cartoon, the adultified cartoons from Japan, where they were clamping down on this because they were very like controlling and didn't want the bad pictured materials to be accessible to their young people, and now it's 15% of their GDP. It's like wow, that is a definitely a weird direction to go in, and that's what happens when you mess with censorship around art. It just doesn't go the way that you think it's going to go. So big warning to everybody: don't do that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
All right.
and I think they kind of, I mean, again, the media jumping on this and poorly defending this. You know what? It would have been smart. You know what? It would have been good is if instead of some YouTubers discovering this after doing a lengthy investigation, if I don't know, maybe one of these big, journalist organizations had actually come out and posted this stuff and dug through and found this, actual investigative journalism like they're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that probably probably would have hurt the game, but at this point, I'm sorry if you're Assassin's Creed fan. I'm not aiming this at you. I think this is Ubisoft's doing, but
Yeah.
they already went to somebody who is, vile amongst vile and ran with their stuff for this. So I mean, it's in my books, it's already like I'm never buying an Ubisoft product again. They can shove it.
Yeah, pretty much. And I haven't bought one in years. Yeah, the last one that I bought was Rainbow Six Siege, and like I never spent any money on that for the record, beyond just the upfront asking price. I only just bought it so I could play it with my wife. And yeah, I don't imagine I'll be buying anything from them anytime soon either, except for maybe the Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake, but that'll come out in 2034, even though they say it's 2026. I mean, they did say it was going to come out in 2021, so I don't believe them. Anyway,
And just to be, I'm not against the publisher, like people who they publish with or partner with.
oh yeah,
'Cause,
yeah,
those people didn't
the
really have a say
development
in
company,
this.
yeah, yeah,
It's this particular studio that did this. And then I find it distasteful that their sister companies and parent companies don't stand up and say something, but that's to be expected because everybody is spineless these days
money, money, money,
in the corporate world.
money. All right, let's just move on from that. What's been going on with Civilization?
Civilization, I believe it's 7
7. Yep.
is coming soon.
Oh, by the way, before we move on, I just gotta point out something. You remember before Summer Game Fest and all those conferences were happening, we were talking about how 2K was going to announce the next in the longest line of one of their most beloved franchises.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't Mafia or BioShock, it was this. So just in case you guys remember that. But anyway, go ahead.
I kind of figured so, but for me it was like I'm hoping to see it. I've been hoping to see it for a really long time, but because it's due for another it's been a really long time.
Yeah.
Civ 6 is good. It's not great. It's not perfect. It's not what I want. I think Civ 5 was better overall. And yes, I know it's I know the publisher. I understand. It's one of the few products that I play from them because it's it's mostly Firaxis. It really does come down to if this is a them product. This is a Sid Meier's product, and I've always liked his stuff, and I've always enjoyed it. But yeah, September 24th, huge day. We're gonna be learning a ton about this game. Probably gonna get a bunch of live stuff. I hope you can create your own country. Like I hate being forced in to play very narrow track lines when it comes to civilizations. I want to mix and match. I want to have the ability to like take key things, key figures, key moments from history and then duplicate them. I hate being like kind of like sorry, you're playing Korea? Okay, well, science victory only. You can't do anything else. It's only science victory. In 5 turns. Yes, that's how it's going to work. Don't you dare do anything else. It's like I hate that kind of gameplay, and I think that's what made 6 really really bad is that you didn't have the flexibility to like mix and match your stuff and they did have that eventually, but it was only recently that they started doing that where you could have different leaders for different factions, and even then it was only a small handful of them. It wasn't even a lot.
Was that done to sort of simplify things to try and bring a more mainstream audience into it? Kind of like what Morrowind to...
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think it's this idea that they have to simplify everything so that Cletus can play it. Hi Cletus, have you played what's your favorite game, Cletus?
What's a game?
I like checkers. Right, you like checkers. You don't like Magic Gathering, Pokemon. No, those are too complicated for me. I don't really know how to play those. Okay, good. We're gonna make the next game so it caters to you. Please stop doing that. It doesn't work.
Right.
It really doesn't work. I mean, simplifying it a little bit, allowing it to grow and evolve and again, always just give more options. Like if somebody wants to play a stupid version of it, you call it the journalist version and you have a journalist mode and then people can just play it as a journalist. But having some actual difficulty is actually really important. And it applies and it increases gameplay. So fingers crossed for that. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm a huge 4X fan, and I don't play 4X games. People hate playing 4X games with me. I've tried. Poor Polly's has tried more than once. For a 4X game, if it doesn't take like 2 months to play one single game from start to finish, you're just not doing it right. In my opinion, I know. I set up like every time I do a Civ game, I set it to marathon time. Every time I play a Stellaris game, it's like huge. I can never finish a Stellaris game because the population of the galaxy always ends up bloating to the point where the game won't even run. Different races and civilizations out there, and it's like, but I like that truly grand feel. And I like it being slow. I like feeling like I'm there for every year for the 5,000 years, like I normally do, experience time. It's like, that's what I want to experience. And
that's what an empire is.
Yeah. So fingers crossed. I'm pretty sure that they're going to do a good job with this because they really have had they've had themselves shaken a little bit. There's been a couple of civilization games that have kind of reared up their heads and challenged them a little bit. They definitely, like, Paradox is really pushing the boundaries and really like getting their finger into their chest, going, you better step up your game. So I hope Sid really steps up his game for this and really like goes all out, adds a bunch of stuff that people have been asking about forever because it's make it or break it time. And I'm really excited for this. So yay, more Civ! Woo!
Mm-hmm. So it's September when you said?
24th.
24th, yeah, and
big news drop day. Yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting that they're making that announcement that far out. I can't remember the last time that any game development studio or any major gaming publisher or producer said that there was going to be an announcement 2 months out. Unless I'm just not thinking very hard.
It could be because they are. Could be because they're doing some kind of like early release. like some kind of like quick release after, or having an available version of it. And they would make the declaration of it now, because if it has multiplayer capacity, and that's what they're going to launch with, like say they're doing like they're releasing that night.
Mm-hmm.
They're not releasing the full game, they're releasing an early access PvP thing for it. That info is going to leak if they don't mention it now.
Mm-hmm.
So by mentioning it now and putting it now, making a little teaser and going, hey, we're going to have, Civilization, woo! Everybody's really excited. Then you won't have the leaks come out and spoil it.
Sure.
This very much did come as a surprise to most people, even though I knew it's been coming for a while. I didn't have an inside source telling me that. I just knew, hey, it's been like a decade since the last game. Can we get going here? Like,
oh, sure.
Like,
yeah, that's gonna happen.
Yeah, and the fact that he's been asked a number of times, like, when are you working on a new project, and the fact that they slowed down releasing of DLC for 6. So because of that, it's clearly this was coming up soon, and more leaks would have come out. So instead of letting leaks be at the mercy of people who found them, just put it out there, make a big statement, and then that way when they update CMDB or other things leak, it doesn't hurt their marketing.
Doesn't that sound like more ideal? Like, why don't more companies do that sort of thing? I guess just because they don't want to hold themselves to deadlines, and I understand that to a certain degree, but I don't know. Like, there's always got to be at least something that you can show, but it's tricky. I get it, but anyway, I'm glad that you have a set date to look forward to. Anyway, did you have anything else you wanted to mention?
No. I mean, I love Civ games. We've done a handful of videos on it in the past. Civ 6 was the first time they added Canada. Like,
what the hell?
Yeah. You can watch our video on it. It was pretty funny because Ash and I used
did you load beavers into your cannons when you were dominating all the other countries?
It was literally, we did literally the what is their name? Bob and Doug McKenzie. Nice. We did Bob and Doug McKenzie take on it, reviewing it, and we actually got some people like from the studio actually like give us some comments, and they're like, we like this. It was small, but
that's cool.
I still think that our World Wonder should have been the longest unguarded border in the world, and you could just, any country that you're friendly and have a border with, you just have like this like positive like influence to both countries. So yeah,
that's so Canadian. Because of
that and all of our war heroes should have all been comedians,
right? Or famous, like some of the best musicians on the planet.
Yeah, or good singers and stuff like that. Yeah.
Geddy Lee. All right. Yeah. So that was it, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. By the way, before we conclude, I just got a question. If I ever wanted to get into Civilization, because it's this thing that I've always heard about, and it's sort of a game genre that I never partook in, should I start with Civilization 5 or 6 or what?
Probably just wait for the new one to come out.
Yeah. Okay.
In all honesty, wait for the new game to come out, and then try different things. So here, I'll add this to the story. Everybody was doing the whole battle royale thing.
Oh yeah.
And we just kept on getting the same battle royale over and over and over and over and over again.
Yep.
And it was really boring, dumb, and stupid. And you're just rolling your eyes going, wow, yet another battle royale. You know who really stepped it up? You know who did something different? Civilization, because they created a battle royale in Civilization.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
A turn-based battle royale 4X empire. And it was really fun and really cool. You're playing as survivors, as society and the whole world is essentially falling apart. The planet's like basically going dead, and you can find nukes and nuke other people on the map. And it was glorious. I absolutely loved it. Nice. And I thought that this was the take that Battle Royales needed to go in. You don't make Fortnite 5.0 if you're not Fortnite. If you're a smaller company and you're not and you look at and you see this bandwagon, it's like maybe take an opportunity to try something slightly different with the genre. Don't try and like just copy and paste, because if you're not doing something truly unique, you're not going to, create something that's truly unique and special. You're really not. There's less than a 1 in 1,000 chance that you're gonna create something that has mirrored quality success at a comparable level to the company's size versus the others.
Mm-hmm.
You're just not. You're not going to create something new. You're not going to create something cool. You're going to create something that everybody else has created, and if you're not willing to do something different in it, then you're just going to slam up against a wall.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I think that really worked for Vampire Survivors. Lots of different versions of Vampire Survivors come out, and the most successful one that came from like a really outside there source that everybody didn't expect it to do nearly as good as it did, which it did bonkers. It did like really, really, really good. Is called Wedding Witch.
Okay. WEDDING wedding?
Wedding as in like, wedding bells.
Yeah.
Okays and that kind of thing. Yeah. So you play a busty witch who's trying to like make her body perfect for her wedding night. And there's no gratuitous. You could stream this on Twitch. It's okay. It doesn't have any graphic nudity in it. But that game ended up selling, I think, more copies than I think almost any. I think it fell in like the 5th or 6th place in the mad rush to create Vampire Survivor clones, and that came out of left field. Partially because it got streamed by a ton of streamers, and it was really it is really well made. But like, if you're not willing to do something crazy different and really go out there, you're just doing the same old, then you're just going to run yourself into a wall again, and that's what's happening here. So yeah. we want to see something different with battle royales and with the 4X. We want to see the next Civ game be different, have something different in it. And yeah, we cross our fingers.
All right, September. Well, okay. I'll take your advice and I'll wait for Civilization. I look forward to seeing some gameplay about it because it's like I said, it's just one of those legendary franchises that everybody's always heard about, and you got to play at least once in your life. Maybe now's the time. Yeah. All right, guys, that does it for this episode of Maximum News. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to hit that like button if you like this episode. It not only helps out this video, but all the other videos on this channel. I want to thank Syb, as always, for doing this, especially, dealing with the sickness. Hopefully he'll be... Is it good to be down with the sickness or bad to be down? Oh, I don't care. Anyways, I hope you get over the sickness. Anything you want to plug before we're done?
We got more stuff coming. This is a kind of a weird, rough, transitionary time. I apologize. We are trying, but part of it's going to be like have to find the right time and the right places to do some stuff, because things have kind of like gone sideways for me personally. Ash is still working away at things. Check out his Sinometry channel. It's going good over there. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we'll be back with more news eventually.
Nice. Yeah.
I mean, every week from now on, at least fingers crossed.
Yeah. I hope you guys can sympathize, especially with the way the world seems to be going crazier every single week, if you know what I mean. And then you guys can find me on all the regular forms of social media, just at Max Derrat. You might want to go check out my newest video. It's actually, it's picking up a lot of steam. It got 100,000 views in like less than 2 days. It's on the title of the video is called "The Greatest Game with the Worst Title Ever," and people really seem to be enjoying it. So go and check it out. Mm-hmm. All right, that does it for this episode, guys. And we will be back next week, I promise. Until then, I want to remind you, as always and as per usual, stay yellow.
Goodbye.